Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving right into the absolutely fascinating science behind why our own brains seemingly love to torture us with past mistakes. If you have ever felt like your own mind is actively working against you, dragging up your absolute most cringeworthy moments right when you least expect it, well, you are in the perfect place. We're going to unpack exactly what is happening inside your head, and more importantly, how you can actually hack this process to outgrow all that lingering shame. I mean, picture this. You're having a perfectly normal, relaxing day when, completely out of nowhere, you're suddenly struck by this visceral, super cringy memory from like 10 years ago. It is one of the most universal yet totally bizarre human experiences. You're just making breakfast, and bam, your brain drags you back to a moment you'd do anything to forget. And the wildest part? Your body physically reacts as if it's happening all over again in real time. We have all been there with these highly specific misfires. You totally know the ones. Calling your teacher mom, enthusiastically waving at a total stranger, tripping in front of a crowd, or sending a spicy text to the absolute wrong person. Your face gets hot, your heart races, and you instinctively whisper, "Why did I do that to an empty room?" Nobody else is thinking about it, yet your brain holds on to these tiny, fleeting moments with terrifying determination, even though, let's be real, you probably can't even remember what you had for lunch yesterday. So why exactly does it do this? That brings us to Section 1, your brain's survival software. To really understand this, you've got to realize your brain is basically a prediction machine. It's designed to protect you, not punish you. The core issue here is that we are essentially still running on ancient survival software. Think about our ancestors. For them, a serious social mistake could mean getting kicked out of the tribe. Rejection wasn't just an oops moment, it was a literal death sentence. So while modern life is totally different and a social mistake today is just an awkward Tuesday, your brain still treats social acceptance as life or death. It flags these embarrassing moments as absolutely crucial survival lessons. It's honestly a glitch in our protective system. It's like a smoke detector that just keeps going off because you burned toast once 5 years ago. Psychologists have found that emotional intensity acts like a giant neon highlighter for your memory. Stress hormones chemically lock in memories of shame, but your brain isn't great at telling the difference between a life-saving reminder and a totally useless replay, so it forces you to relive these moments even when there is literally nothing left to learn. And to make matters worse, we amplify it with something called the spotlight effect. We have this natural but completely false belief that everyone is intensely watching and remembering our mistakes. The actual reality? Everyone else is way too busy stressing over their own embarrassing memories to even catalog yours. That mortifying event that feels permanently etched into history, it almost definitely vanished from everyone else's minds within minutes. Okay, let's move right into Section 2, rewriting your own memories. This is where the hidden neuroscience gets incredibly mind-blowing. The biggest myth we believe is that our memory is a perfect video recording. But the reality is that your brain reconstructs and rewrites the past every single time you recall it. It's not a frozen video file you're just pressing play on. You are actively rebuilding the event in real time, pulling together fragments of sounds and images, and often filling in the blank spaces with pure imagination. This is driven by a neurological process called memory reconsolidation. Basically, every time you lie awake agonizing over that awkward party, you are actively editing the memory. You're overwriting the file. And because you're stressed while thinking about it, you often make the perceived judgment larger than life. You might remember the entire room going dead silent and staring at you, when in reality, maybe one guy glanced over for a split second. Psychologists call this process amplification. Your shame is literally reshaping the memory, adding massive dramatic significance to something objectively tiny. It's as if your brain keeps layering on suspenseful dramatic background music every time the memory plays. This is exactly why two people can go through the exact same awkward situation, yet one person laughs about it the next day while the other carries it like a crushing weight for decades. It's all about the post-edit. And that leads us to Section 3, the invisible confirmation filter. This is a really dangerous turning point, because it's where the thought, "I did something embarrassing," mutates into a toxic false identity of "I am embarrassing." Once you adopt that belief, confirmation bias kicks into overdrive. Your brain suddenly becomes a master detective, collecting only the proof that supports this negative view. It aggressively highlights every tiny stumble, every awkward pause, while completely ignoring the thousands of successful, charming, and genuinely positive interactions you've had. You end up viewing your entire life through an invisible, skewed filter. Now, Section 4, the danger loop. So why does your brain ambush you with these feelings while you're just driving to work or shampooing your hair? It's all about this psychological loop. First, your brain subconsciously detects a tiny pattern, like a specific tone of voice, and the old memory suddenly appears. Second, you instantly react with intense frustration or shame. Ugh, why did I do that? But here's the catch. Third, that intense emotion convinces your brain that the memory is still highly important. And finally, the memory is stored even more deeply for the future. You getting mad at yourself for cringing is literally the exact fuel keeping the cycle alive. Think of your neural pathways like a dense forest. If you constantly react to a specific memory with shame, you are continuously walking down that same trail, trampling the grass until your brain paves a massive superhighway straight to that negative emotion. It becomes completely automatic. But here is the amazing news. The exact opposite is also true. We can forge brand new paths. Let's look at how in Section 5, Reframing the Past. So how do we actually rewire these pathways? We strip the power from these memories, not by magically forgetting them, but by using self-compassion. Imagine watching a home video of your 10-year-old self making a totally silly mistake. You just smile and offer kindness, right? Because they're just a kid. They're still learning. Yet for some reason, we ruthlessly judge our teenage or younger adult selves for not having the wisdom and maturity that we literally just acquired today. It makes no sense. Here is a total game changer of a perspective shift. The actual reality of growth is that the fact you cringe at your past behavior is hard scientific evidence that you have evolved. Cringing requires self-awareness. Feeling shame about how you acted back then proves your emotional intelligence has increased since then. If you constantly hold yourself to impossible standards, you just lock your brain into a defensive state, which ironically makes future growth way harder. Think about this quote for a second. The person who cringes today isn't the same person who made the mistake years ago. If you were truly the exact same clueless person your anxiety tries to tell you that you are, you wouldn't even recognize the past event as embarrassing in the first place. The cringe is proof of your upgrade. Because here's the secret. True confidence isn't built by successfully avoiding all humiliation. It's built by surviving it, learning from it, and flat out refusing to let it define your future. Every incredibly confident, successful person you admire has a hidden mental vault full of moments they pray nobody remembers. They just stop letting those specific mistakes dictate their entire story. So what if that specific memory you've been running from is really just an outdated file your brain forgot to archive? The next time that cringe hits you, don't panic. Don't judge yourself and accidentally strengthen that neural loop. Just take a breath and recognize that yes, the lesson from that moment was valuable, but the shame? That was never meant to be a permanent roommate. Growth really only becomes visible in hindsight. Your entire life is not going to be measured by a few awkward seconds. As you keep living and gathering more experiences, those massive, seemingly world-ending moments from your past will shrink down. Eventually, they become just a single sentence buried in a much, much larger book. So, I want to leave you with this to chew on. What is one embarrassing memory you have finally learned to laugh about, or maybe one you're still working on letting go of? Realizing that you aren't permanently defined by your worst, most awkward moments is honestly one of the most freeing parts of being human. If this explainer helped shift your perspective today, think about who else might be lying awake tonight torturing themselves over a moment everyone else already forgot, and share this with them. Until next time, keep exploring the absolutely fascinating mysteries hidden right inside your own mind.